All right. Good afternoon, pre-calculus class. You guys know we had a little pop quiz today, so I'm wanting to go over these questions, and I want you to go home, look at this video, figure out what you did wrong, and make corrections. So number one says find the domain and range of the following function. We know with domain, we see a radical. So you know when there's a domain restriction, it's either a radical or a fraction. So we have the square root of x. What do we know about underneath the radical? Very good. Has to be greater than or equal to 0. So we know our domain is going to be all real numbers inclusive of 0 to infinity. Because you know if you put a negative under the radical, it's going to be undefined, or actually it's going to be imaginary. For our range, now this is where a lot of you guys made this mistake. A lot of you guys said it's all real numbers, which is actually not correct. We have to look at the domain. Since 0 is the smallest number we could put under that radical sign. The square root of 0 is 0 plus 8. We start with 8 as our range because since we can't go below 8, the reason why we can't go below 8 because that's going to be 0. That's the smallest number we could put in there. Our range will be from 8 to positive infinity. So just make sure you understand. Good. Number 2, it says verify whether the following functions are inverses or not. We have f of x and g of x. The way to find out, we have to do our test. We have to find f of g of x, and we can rewrite that as f of g of x, and we need to make sure that that equals x, and it also equals g of f of x. Now, just to remind you, if you do this test and it does not equal x, then you can stop right there because you know those two functions are inverses. So I'm going to write it right here. We know we have f of g of x, which is equal to f of g of x is negative 3x minus 6. So we're going to substitute negative 3x minus 6 in for x right there. So that would be 3 times negative 3x minus 6 plus 6, which is negative 9x distributive property minus 18 plus 6, which is negative 9x minus 12. So we already see that these are not inverses, so the answer right here would be no. Okay? And then for the last one, this is where a lot of you guys made this mistake. I told you to write the equation first. We can assume it's not quite right, but we can go with the equation f of x equals x squared minus 5. Most of you guys stop right here, but as you know, if we want to find the inverse, we have to go ahead and switch the input and the output, which will give us x equals y squared minus 5, and then you have to isolate y, plus 5 on both sides, which is x plus 5 equals y squared, and then to get rid of this exponent, we're going to take the root y equals the square root of x plus 5. Okay, so by tomorrow, please have reviewed these, have the corrections in your notebook, and I'll see you